season. Today, we will find out which team will follow the footsteps of Excel and lock in the last remaining playoff spot. Is it going to be the super team Vitality or the back-to-back champions, Mad Lions? Ugh, I can't wait to find out. My name is Shax, and I am joined by Goldborg and Lore. Woo!
Yay!
Yay! Awesome, because in this Ready Check, we're not just going to talk about the playoffs, but also about some broadcast things that have been fun this season so far. So, Lore, thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you for the invite. PGL yesterday, Ready Check this morning. I'm taking over. Right?
Yes, of course, and we love it. So let's take a look at the race for playoffs and the standings. Now, yesterday, Excel finally secured the win they needed over SK and locked themselves into their first ever top 6. Goldborg, they did, however, eliminate SK in the process, but it was a long time coming for Excel.
Yeah, definitely. Although I feel like the way it was done, it felt a little bit awkward because it was a pretty clean game from Excel. There wasn't really that build-up you had where it's like, they finally made it, but it's awesome seeing a team like Excel who's been in the league for so long, who's struggled, who's had roster swaps mid-season, not only this year, but also last year as well. And this time around, it finally clicked for them.
It did, and as you said, it was just straightforward for them, and maybe we wanted a bit more drama, Lore, but after how nervous the players were, I think this is better.
I think they had enough drama over the past 7 seasons, but they entered the week with an easy situation, honestly. Just needed this one win to get to playoffs. Didn't happen on the first day, so getting the nerves maybe for the team, but yeah, clean win on day 2. They deserve it.
They deserve it indeed. Unfortunately for SK, it was off the backs of their game, but SK just wasn't able to get everything together in time in order to make that run for the playoffs.
And it seems like for both our, pretty much all of our bottom teams, they actually came to a state where they felt competitive once we got towards the end of the split. There was even when Excel lost out against the first day there, when they then had to move on to SK the second day, we still had that lingering thought, maybe they will drop it, maybe the curse is real, but no. They finally closed it out.
Exactly. They need to peak at the right time, and maybe that is just the case for the Mad Lions. They stayed alive, have now won 2 of their 3 games here at Super Week. They beat Astralis yesterday, and that, Lore, that was a close game. They actually got put behind tremendously by Astralis, but they fought their way back.
It was a close game indeed, but I mean, Astralis also gave them everything for the Mad Lions composition to shine, not really playing around Armut's Meganar, give them the right opportunities, especially towards the end of the game. But it feels like the way they've been playing lately and the compositions they used fits more their style. Elioya was saying during the first day that they're playing more comfort champs. We see it with the Gnar, we see it with the Twisted Fate, especially on FLICKR, because now he can be available for his teammates on side lanes and he doesn't have to create a big lead by himself.
Yeah, and I want to hone in on that point as well, because I completely agree with Lore. Having FLICKR and Twisted Fate has put him in a position where he no longer has to be facilitated by Kaiser and by Elioya. It's more a case where he's the one pulling the trigger with the Destiny and Gate. His team might be calling for some plays, and they're just going for it, as you already mentioned, with the comfort. Like, they seem way more comfortable on these picks, and it's like day and night in terms of how they looked just a couple of weeks ago and how they look this weekend.
Yeah, it does look like they have turned a page. I know in the preseason we heard so much about FLICKR maybe being even the highest value new player coming into the LEC, and it's taken some time, but both him and Unforgiven have really found their groove. But is it going to be enough? They still need to win today, and then if Vitality loses, of course, Vitality is out and Mad is in, which is so crazy. Now, earlier, we asked our fans on Discord who they thought would advance to the playoffs, Vitality or Mad, and the fans did go for Vitality with more than 60% of the votes. So, I mean, you can't vote against a super team.
Super team, sub-optimal team. I don't know which part you're taking that, but I definitely think we can drop the super team about Vitality after the performance they've had this split. They have to go up against Astralis, and I mean, you want to be able to finish that one.
That's true. We'll see what happens for Vitality, the fans believe. Let's talk about the top of the table then. We have 3 contestants for the #1 spot. Rogue, Fnatic, and Misfits can still all finish in first place. I'm a bit surprised that Misfits can still make that first place, Lore.
I was a bit surprised that Misfits is top 3 right now, but the fact that they can make top 1 is astonishing. Honestly, the way they managed to turn out games in France, we usually say that they're the CEOs of the shutdown meta with the way they managed to turn fights around. But with the way they beat Fnatic yesterday especially, is it still a surprise that they're performing so good? But I mean, when you think about a ranking, I would I would doubt that maybe they can finish first. We'll see.
I'm surprised.
Yeah.
I think for sure, even if Misfits ends up as #1 coming into this split, I don't think it was so much in a convincing fashion. I still wouldn't rank them as #1 going into playoffs, but nonetheless, I think you're right. They had some pieces they built around, and they've been quite successful with building around Schlatten and around Mercer too.
Quickly, what's your rankings? 1, 2, 3. Top 3.
Fnatic, Rogue, and Misfits. I mean, Fnatic, we've seen the best from them. Honestly, they look like the strongest team in the LEC right now. Rogue, even though they had some fluke game, I want to say recently, they're still strong around comp, around Malrang especially. And Misfits, well, there's the VTO factor, there's the Schlatten factor because he got stronger, but still, I would rank them 3rd.
And to make it go very quick, I'm going to completely agree with my co-analyst and say
Lovely.
Fnatic, Rogue, and Misfits.
All right, we'll see if that comes true. And it is also a biannual tradition here in the LEC to crown the totally made-up LEC awards at the end of each regular season. So let's waste no time and get right into the fun.
Okay. Getting fancy with the music.
I don't think you're supposed to talk over that, GB.
I know, but I couldn't help it. I was like, wow, I like this. And I like this.
All right, starting off tonight's gala is the category Best Observer Moment. And you all know at home we had a lot of clips to choose from. A shout out also to our wonderful observers. They have been smurfing it this season once again, but here are our nominees.
I love Zoe. I hope she wins.
I usually hope
That's so
This is beautiful. It had to be one of the best moments we've
just
had.
got us R-rated,
everyone was
guys. What is
laughing of this.
Q auto attack. Watch this auto attack animation. He just about gets it off, but it gets cancelled. But here comes my favorite arcane series.
Bad chests in the chat. Comp finds it. Caps realizes at the last moment, but it's just too late. Oh no, you didn't have to do this.
The power pose for Jinx as well. I love
Lars
it.
has been playing so well, observers. You didn't have to do this to him.
Look, he's just basing. He's just basing in
That's what
his
you get
brush.
for reading. Play games instead.
The game, we take a look back at the replay here. Clean combos coming in.
Yeah, really clean combos.
There's no vision. They just know he's around the area. Wow, that's pretty cute skin.
It's pretty creepy is what it is. If a robot cat hooked you out of bed, you're just on your way to sleep and he's like, nope, off you come.
It's cuter than a hairless cat.
Don't you dare.
But look at this shockwave from Certus.
Yeah, the shockwave, and also just you get the Super Mega Death Rocket coming through as well. Beautifully timed, and as we say, like Treats, he set that all up, right? Goes in, gets everyone Australis to group up, and it's absolutely perfect.
Oh, I even missed that one with the cat robot. I didn't.
Yeah, I
don't
forgot
remember
about the
that.
voice
It's
crank.
really great.
Yeah.
I mean,
I didn't, Medic. He's been pestering me about that moment for a long time about those
So,
hairless cats.
we are the committee, actually. Surprise. So, what do we think?
Has to be the Zoe for me. I mean, they make it look so dramatic with how candid she looks and how bubbly she is.
Yeah.
And then bam,
It was a whole
boss.
storyline. We had this setup, we had the plot
Yeah.
in the middle, Zoe just alone, the ending. It was a beautiful moment.
All right, here we go. It goes to the Zoe. I love Zoe. I hope she wins. Congratulations, you won. Zoe, well, the observers won, actually, in this case. Next up, we have Best Caster Moment. Now, compared to the observers, you guys did an okay job, so let's take a look at the selection.
And they get the TP immediately into the root, into the stun, into the death. That TP sucks, humanoid. He thought he was safe, but he was not.
Vibing, yeah. We are waiting for the bands coming through. Excel first. I'm not good at ad-libbing, so I'm not gonna try. Spinning. Yeah. Whoa.
The Chemtech Drake has been disabled. F's in the chat.
They know that's taken in. Elioya might find an engagement. 5-man ultimate on the follow-up.
Wait, Wonder buys a bit more time. Can wait, get a little bit
Oh,
more damage out. The
what
flash
the?
over!
Oh my God, the footwork. Oh, are they gonna get him? No, Wonder, you absolute madman.
I'm just kidding, Mark. I'm totally messing with you.
Wait, I
My
couldn't. No,
audio-
wait.
My heart isn't ready for this. I'm a guest. I'm not supposed to live through this, Medic. This isn't what I came here for.
Welcome to the LEC.
I mean, I have a favorite. But
I have a favorite too.
Does it start with a C and end with Adriel?
I think so.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that guy, he can do it all, and it's so annoying that we're even awarding him again because, no, but seriously.
He made playoffs also this
He
year.
made
so,
playoffs
no.
Oh,
and
he's really
Smurfed
just
it.
coming together now, isn't he?
Yeah.
That's the year of Cadril.
Congratulations, Cadril. Best caster moment, or Cadril and Dracos, rather. The final category is Best Win Celebration, and I have a feeling certain teams, G2 and Zanzara, will be represented among the nominees. Maybe I shouldn't cough during a pandemic, even fake cough. Okay, let's see. I think Yep, here we go.
Oh.
Aww.
So this is great. We see the passion of a team finally winning, but this is
yeah.
odd,
He
okay?
shoots.
So this
He
is how they have
scores.
this
He
set
leaks
up.
the MSI location. Never mind.
Welcome back to Teams
Really
Romain.
fun. What is this one?
It's subtle. It's like, let's get a
yeah.
handshake for all the players. We've just
Don't
been
handshake
through
on
it.
stage, so.
Yeah, for sure.
Really great. Maybe an SK.
I have my own notes about
There
this
weren't many
clip.
of these, so. But
Because
this is great.
Gilius, he's
This
not
is so
jumping high
genuine.
enough.
Yeah.
It's too small steps. You don't really feel the hype in that jump.
oh, well,
they make it
G2
fancy all the time.
Yeah. G2 are kind of like the new Mad Lions
Right?
with their
Yeah.
celebrations. I like it. Astralis?
Oh, nice posture.
How is he sitting? That's funny.
Oh yeah, was it the
Zanzara.
volley bear dance, I think.
Oh.
Is that volley bear? I thought it was just some
Trundle.
Fortnite dance.
Trundle.
Trundle.
At least
okay.
it's being Trundle that game.
Oh, that's a difficult one. But G2 have so many.
They're creative,
Yeah.
and they bring the Mad Lions vibes, as you said. So
Yeah, I
have
think
to
they
root for
deserve
G2.
it.
Yeah.
For sure.
They deserve it. Congratulations, G2, for your celebrations. And now you may be wondering, how do they decide the nominees of the totally made-up LEC awards? Well, we have an expert academy who judges everything as fairly as possible at the start of the split, blindly, without any context. Let's see what they had to say about the categories of Rookie and Season MVP.
Who is going to be the best performing rookie in spring 2022?
Elioya.
Alioya?
Me.
No, for this year.
Oh, for 2020? Okay, yeah, not me. Not me.
Can be you.
Yeah.
But they didn't perform yet.
Yeah. Who's going to be the best rookie?
Oh.
There's a lot of them actually.
Me.
You're not a rookie.
But that's the first thing that came to my mind.
Best performing rookie? Dayor.
I think Seatos.
Xmati. I'll be biased, I will say Mars.
FLICKR.
I will say one of two from my team, but I don't want to make them fight, you know? So I would choose Shulatan.
Xmati.
Malrang?
Malrang? Okay. Oh, Malrang is not a rookie.
Is not rookie?
No.
I would say Zlatan.
Zlatan. Okay, good answer.
Zlatan.
I think I know. Zlatan.
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 I'm gonna go on a brim and say Unforgiven. My Swedish show me. I think he can do good with Mad Lions.
Seatos.
Dayor. Dayor 25. Or just Dayor.
FLICKR or FLICKR, I think. Maybe I'd say G2 is gonna perform better, so FLICKR.
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 Rika by far.
FLICKR, I guess.
Okay. Just because I said it first, or do you think he's promising?
Do you want me to lie to you or not?
You could say whatever you want.
Yes.
Rika.
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 I'm gonna say Rika.
I think Rika most likely.
Me?
Okay. MVP of spring.
Me?
Oof. Perks.
Humanoid.
Me. Nuclear Int.
Okay.
I mean, Vetio nickname in solo queue is 2022 MVP, so let's say Vetio.
Okay.
Me?
Targamas.
Targamas?
Yeah.
Okay.
What's that gonna be? Razok.
Elioya.
Okay.
Alfari or me?
Me.
Malrang.
MVP of spring is going to be Markoon.
Alfari.
Selfmade, maybe?
Upset.
Humanoid.
Me.
Selfmade.
Upset, I guess, but I don't think Fnatic is gonna do good, but that's the first word.
Okay.
Me.
Caps. Caps? I guess.
Okay.
Caps.
Perks.
Oh, maybe Poach.
You know he's never won MVP.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, maybe then this year maybe he will get it.
Me.
Finally gonna get it.
Yeah, I finally got it.
Look at how wrong these peasants were. I'm kidding. This was, of course, week 1, so we got to give them some, cut them some slack. And I also like it because it's very much based on expectations, preseason expectations. But now we get to see what we think at the end of the season. So Goldberg and Niski, you gathered a couple of candidates for MVP specifically, and you've chosen Hylissang, Vitio, Larsen, or Malrang. What were your choices, Niski?
For me, the first one is Hylissang, then Vetu, and then Malrang. I think the Hylissang is the obvious one. I mean, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, for sure with Hylissang, I think the value you get from Hylissang is not only just the fact that he's an incredible pressure down in the 2v2 from the bot side, it's also that he's able to translate this pressure from the bot side either into the mid lane, sometimes to the top side, and he's all in all just a scary player. He's incredibly hard to shut down due to his champion pool as well. We got engages and chances and whatnot, and therefore just an all-around all-star player.
And when you look at kind of the preseason expectations of the pro players themselves, it doesn't even come up to mind to talk about Hylissang in that way, because he's always really good. And I think that he's even better than what people had expected in previous years, for me, makes him a really prime candidate to be MVP.
Yeah, I mean, I think people know he's really good, but I feel like this split, at least, I feel like his champion pool has been insane. I feel like he doesn't really die randomly anymore, and I don't know, I feel like he's really calculated and he does not make the mistakes he made in the past year. So a real completed player, and I think he will be even more scary when playoffs hit.
Come playoffs, indeed. To remind everyone at home, the MVP hasn't been decided yet, the regular season. That will happen after the end of next day, or today rather, the voting process will begin. But Vitio will be in there for sure. And I think here's where that definition of most valuable player and how you decide to attack it comes into play. Because, I mean...
Okay, so if we have to go from the most valuable player to a team, I think that Misfits would not be the same team without Vitio. And yes, you can come in with the argument that as a mid laner, he's quite often facilitated by support and jungle, but he does so well with these resources. He's flexible as well. We see him on the likes of Akali, where he can take over a late game. We see him on the Syndra as well. We got different threats from him. And I gotta say, as a mid laner, he's really grown and developed over the course of a year.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, at least for me, I feel like he's still kind of a rookie. But I feel like this year, with like all the changes Misfits has made, it made him, it forced him to be like the real carry, the real veteran of the team, I feel like, and I think he's done a great job till now.
Absolutely. Talking about another mid laner, I saw Larsen on that list as well, Goldberg, and I know that you are a big fan of putting him on there.
Yeah, okay, so hear me out, community, because I know I can already see people going like, okay, Larsen, why the hell would you do that? Now listen up. Larsen is so damn consistent as a mid laner. He rarely ever makes mistake, and his fundamentals as a mid laner are just in check. The lanes he's hovering to in terms of where opponent's jungler is, where the vision is laid, it's something that we undervalue a lot when we take a look at the mid lane in itself, because it's these things that just Larsen will never get punished upon. And in the small instances where he is getting punished in the mid lane, I feel like a lot of it comes down to the miscommunications with his roster. Sometimes he needs some shadowing from a jungler support. It just doesn't happen. He'll die in a lane. Maybe that's something that's a little bit greedy in communication, but we don't know. All I know that as an individual, and we just hone in on Larsen this split as a mid laner, he's been doing phenomenal.
When you look at, of course, Malrang is the other player that's been getting a lot of praise and attention on that roster, but he has, I mean, if it's fair to say, in the beginning of the split, he was taking over every single game. Even when that wasn't as much the case, Larsen was still putting up those big numbers.
Yeah, I mean, I agree that Larsen can be also one of the MVP candidates, but for me, I feel like Malrang should be the third one, because...
You can disagree with me, you don't have to do this, go on!
Because I think Rogue dies and lives by Malrang, I feel like, because he just leads the whole game, I feel like, and he makes some plays that you don't even expect him to do. He covers for his lanes really well, and I feel like he's not necessarily behind for it, so for me, Malrang is the third one.
I like all those opinions, and I know there's a thread right now on Twitter from the LEC account, so go ahead and tell us who you think we should consider as well. But Larsen and Malrang, they will play in our marquee match of the day, as they will face off against G2 in Game 5 tonight. So it isn't quite the match of the week, we already had that one, but it is such a big game. This might be a potential playoffs round 1 matchup, in fact, and Rogue would lock first seed with a win. And that's kind of nuts. I know we talk a lot about Rogue and how they failed in that one final, etc. But these guys are so good in the regular season time and time again. And you as a player yourself, Niski, that is not easy, keeping that form as high for so many games.
Yeah, I mean, I think they've been doing a great job in the spring split. I feel like they have like the recipe of succeeding during the split. But I feel like once playoff hits, it feels like maybe they're under a lot of pressure or they don't handle it well. But I think with this roster, with Malrang's experience from Damon, I feel like they can overcome that. And I I hope they do so.
It's a great test versus G2. They only were ever able to beat G2 once. That was in week 4. It's 1-12, GB. So what are we expecting here in this match?
I mean, it's interesting because if we have to look at the momentum coming through from both these teams so far, I would actually say that G2 has looked better at the second half of the split, especially that early game. I think the early game from Rogue has been lacking a little bit every now and then when they don't have a draft that probably facilitates what they want to do. But when they do have tools to work with the early game, especially Larsen on something like the Rise as well, I feel like teams are on a lot of pressure. And for example, a team like G2 that had a very scaling composition yesterday that was barely punished by Vitality, I think today is going to be an incredible matchup because you have stylistically Rogue, that's super good in the early game, against a team like G2 that has opted in for a little bit of more scaling. So I want to see that they're going to be attacked in the early game rather.
G2 was dubbed by Grabs in PGL a few days ago as the dark horse going into the playoffs. I feel like what we've seen in the last couple of days, specifically of Caps and of Jankos, Niski, they're bright horse, I would say.
I mean, I feel like they've been doing great together as a mid jungle, and also for me, at least, I feel like Caps has been kind of back to his form-ish. I don't want to jinx him yet, but I feel like he's been doing really good, and I feel like he figured out his play style. He wants to play certain types of champions, and I think he's doing great for now, so I want to see how he does against Rogue today.
Yeah, we didn't even mention him in the MVP. He mentioned himself, though, in the video, so perhaps he'll say, hey, don't forget about me.
But also remember that Caps really didn't show up at start of the split. True. This is something that he's really geared up with. And as you said yourself, Grabs was like, he's a dark horse. And now we're like, he's not a dark horse. He's actually performing and is on multiple champions as well.
All right, let's see what happens. All games today still have significant standings implications. And here we have a quick look at that schedule. So we're finishing off the Super Week very strong with G2 versus Rogue. What would be the single game you're looking forward to the most, GB?
I think it's a no-brainer. I have to say Astralis versus Vitality because it has so many implications. And you know, what greater storyline than Vitality losing to Astralis and then Mad Lions losing to BDS only for none of it to matter. That's the real story I'm looking for.
Unsubscribe. I do not want to be subscribed to that timeline, but you make a good point, though. It's still a lot on the line. And first and foremost, that playoff spot. And unfortunately, SK Gaming was eliminated from the playoffs yesterday after their loss versus Excel. Ahead of their final game of their season today, Lore is joined by Certes to recap their season and look forward to summer.
Thank you, Shux and Certes. Thank you so much for joining me ahead of your last game of the regular season. First off, I'm so sorry things didn't play out the way you expected them to when it comes to playoff, but still, this was your rookie season in the LEC. A lot of takeaways from it. What do you think about your growth over the past 8 weeks and the learnings you took as a player?
I think I growed a lot during these LEC times. I mean, like scrims are going really well for me, and our practice is also getting better. And yeah, from the league, playing with the best players, you can always improve from them. And during the time, I also learned how to play different styles of champions, more like laning phase champs or roaming champs. And yeah, really happy about it.
We're happy too. I mean, we showed a lot of good things for you during the LEC. Could you elaborate maybe on what you think you improved the most on a personal level?
On a personal level, what I improved the most on, I think how to play around my team, especially like it doesn't happen that much where you can get a big lead like during the laning phase. It's more like that you try to influence the side lanes, especially bot or top. And I think I kind of did well around it. And yes.
Yeah, you did really well indeed. And I mean, you saw a lot of progress on the side of SK in general. You managed to beat some of the top teams in the second round robin. Rogue, for instance, this week. When you think about summer and what will be possible for SK, how far do you think you can go?
I think for sure in summer will be better. I think the biggest problem was the early start in the season where we lost a lot of games. And yeah, as you mentioned, like we beat top teams like G2, Rogue. So of course, like there's potential for us to be in summer a playoffs team.
Yeah, a lot of areas to explore for sure, and a lot of time to work on things also. Focusing on the last match you will play today against Misfits, and it feels like they made a name for themselves in the LEC as the comeback team, if I may say. Any words maybe on the way they managed to win games and how you think it's going to play out against you today?
I mean, we have to be careful, like when we are ahead and we have a lead, that we will not throw it away. I think we will be smart, taking not 50-50 fights and always fighting in our position and our advantage, and we try to clean out the game.
Yeah, have to be careful about these mid-game fights. Maybe a couple words on the matchup against VTO. I know he's been at the center of everything in the LEC lately.
I mean, yeah, I think he has a really good split at the moment. Like, he is a really good player on like these carry champs like Akali or Sylas, and he's like really smart about not throwing the game. So yeah.
Yeah, very excited about this matchup for sure. Certus, thank you so much for the interview. Good luck on your last game of the spring season, and yeah, hope for the best against Misfits.
All right, thank you for the interview.
You're very welcome. See ya. And for more on Misfits and how they came back yesterday against Fnatic, back to you, Goldberg.
Thank you very much, Law. Yesterday, Misfits celebrated another huge comeback victory as they took down Fnatic. And I wanted to break down the single most pivotal team fight of that game. So as we have a look at it, without diving too much into it, to the small intricacy, the small, nitty-gritties of it, it's just a situation where Fnatic has complete control around the Baron area. Misfits, they're going to have to force their way through the fog of war. They don't really have the vision that kind of facilitates a good fight. And because of that, they are going to be losing out at the first start of the fight. So let's have a look at how it actually pans out. Wonder is going to be doing a great job trying to poke them down with the accelerated shock blast. Here you can see VTO's HP bar take a huge toll. And as soon as this has happened, you know it's all about turning now from the side of Fnatic. Let's have a look at the highlights and look at the different positions we're looking at in the team fight as well. Because as you can already see, Zlatan and Hirit, they're completely disjointed from the rest of the team. And it makes it very easy for Fnatic to pile down on the 3 members in the center. And as they do that, it's just VTO being forced to flash away. They can just roll down the team fight. Mercer has already fallen. VTO is going to be the next one. And currently, it's a 2 for none. But this is where it starts becoming a dire situation. This is where you finally get to see why Jinx is so pivotal in a meta like this, because she gets to kite back until she finds the reset. So let's have a look at how it actually pans out. Fnatic, they're over chasing it. They're trying to go onto Neon. A great flash from Neon to get it out of range from the rest of the team, who's already used all the dashes. So when Neon is standing still right here in this instant and just gonna be kiting back with a beautiful kick as well nonetheless from the side of Zlatan, well, it just puts Neon up in a position where he's completely free to get the resets, hammer down the auto attacks, and this is really just enough to make any player go like, maybe I should have banned Jinx on red side. But enough about that, because that was in the end what was enough for Misfits to take down Fnatic. It was a one big team fight that ended deciding it all. And yes, it could have been bounties. Yes, it could have been the small picks. But nonetheless, it came down to Neon's Jinx to finally get the team fight over.
It did. But we're going to have a little discussion about it, because I've seen a lot of chatter online, especially from the side of Fnatic fans, of course, saying, oh, these bounties are so incredibly broken. And then I'm like, well, if your team has been behind, why haven't you used them to win a game? But what do you guys think about it?
Listen, bounties, okay, I'm just gonna lay it out there. They're not as useful as I feel like people are making them out to be. Sometimes champion shutdown, yes, they're a bit finicky and you get a lot of gold from getting some of these small pickups. But when a team like Misfits was down 5k gold, getting 450 combined gold for all of your team every now and then by just taking a Drake and a little turret, it's not going to be enough. It's about finding the right footing in a team fight. This was in a state where items differential didn't matter too much. We had 1 item difference at best, and Jinx was almost full item, so I feel like it just came down to how it was played.
So the Jinx was a bigger issue than
for sure, Jinx is broken.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think it makes sense that they just get free gold. That can be annoying, but I feel like it makes even more sense when you have a champ that outscales. And I think Jinx right now has to be one of the most broken champs with Zeri maybe. So I think people should ban it against Misfits, because it seems like they're abusing it really well.
We'll see. Breaking news though: a Misfits win in this game would lock them into the top 2. And if Rogue lose to G2 later today, Misfits was actually finished in first in the regular season, which goes to show how good Misfits has been playing in the the second half of the season. And at the top of mind are probably mostly those crazy comeback games, but we can't forget that they also had a bunch of games where they were just cool, calm, and collected and got the W.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Misfits as a team kind of found their identity, even though it's like they're usually behind and they just come back games. Like, that's not a bad thing, right? Because if your early game gets stable in the next 2-3 weeks, then that team can be actually scary. But I do believe they will have to work really hard to make that early game stable, and then they can be scary.
I think that's a good point, because statistically they also spend more time in a major deficit than in a major lead in the 7 wins that they had. Neon yesterday in the interview, GB, said, we have to work on a lot because we can't be getting into these early game deficits continuously. What do you think the specific working point should be for Misfits heading into the playoffs?
Well, one good thing is the scaling method for Misfits currently with these picks, but I also think, as Niski mentions himself, and he's completely right, you kind of need to stabilize that early game, especially when you move into a best-of-5 scenario. I feel like sometimes drafts are not making the early game easier for them, and that is something that can be punished if it's not adapted.
So let's take a look what they do here. It is time for the draft of the first game of the last day of the Super Week, Misfits versus SK.